Hey Latin learners, we have 10 houses to build in 10 minutes. Let's get to it and learn some new vocab. Henle vocabulary lessons 30 through 32. Our first word here in lesson 30 is adduco, adducere, adduxi, adductus. Now, make sure to keep a close eye out for words that are a combo of two different words. And this is one great example. So we have duco in there, which means lead. It's a word we already know. And then we have ad, which is a preposition that means to. So if you put those two together, you get what this word means. Lead to or lead on. Our next word is camoeo, camoere, camoi, camotus. This word works very similarly to adduco, where it has two different pieces. So we have moeo, which is a word we've learned that means to move. And then we have this com at the beginning, which sort of adds a greater emphasis to it. So if someone is greatly moved, then that might help you to remember that this means alarm or arouse. Next we have impedio. This is our irregular fourth conjugation verb, and it looks exactly like what it means. Hinder or impede. Then we have auctoritas, auctoritatis. This is another great look-alike noun, and it means authority or influence. Then we have contra. If you think contrary, which is kind of what this looks like, that might help you remember that when someone is contrary, then they are against or opposite of your viewpoint. We have autergo. So this one, I always think of this one in context of the next one, which is affronte, and these two often go together a lot. So autergo means from the rear or from the back, in the rear. A lot of times this is used in military contexts to refer to what direction an army is coming towards another, like in war. If they're coming from the back, that's very important to know, versus if they're coming a fronte, which means from the front or in the front. So make sure to keep those closely connected. Then we have sumus, aum. This is actually what we call the superlative of an adjective we already know, which is magnus, which means great. But one way that you can remember this word is just to think of what a sum is. When you take a sum of two numbers in math, then you take the greatest value of the two numbers put together, right? So summus means greatest, highest, very great. And as I said, it's the superlative of magnus, which means great. So superlative means the highest or ultimate point of that adjective. So we have great, greater, and then here we have greatest. Then we have discedo, discedere, discesi, discesurus. Here's another combo word. So we have cedo, which we're actually going to learn a little bit down the line here in this upcoming lesson. And that means to fall. And then we have dis, which kind of means away. So we have fall away here, which is pretty much what this means. Depart or withdraw. If you fall away, you're departing. Then we have navis, navis. Third declension noun. Think of navigation. It means ship. And then we have a few prepositions. We have ex or e. The difference between these two, the reason why it gives you this in parentheses, is that this ex here is used whenever the next word starts with a vowel, versus e, which is used whenever the next word starts with a consonant. Think of exit when you think of this word, and that'll help you remember that this means out of or from. Then we have ob or ah. Again, ob is used when the next word starts with a vowel. Ah is used when the next word starts with a consonant. If you think of the word absede, which means a sort of falling away, and that actually uses that seed stem, that means to fall, then that might help you remember away from or from. And then we have de, which means down from. A lot of times I remember these words by looking at the the first letter of these last two. So A stands for away from and D stands for down from. Maybe that'll help you. And then we have the word that connects them all. Kado, kadere, kekidi, kasuris. Think of canyon or chasm, something that you definitely do not want to fall down, and that will help you remember that this means fall.
A cauldron here and a cauldron there. Ooh, it's perfect. We have so many houses. I'm so excited for the villagers to move in.
So let's go back through these words and see if we can find all the times that kedo, which means fall, comes up in our words. We have aduko, adukere, aduksi, aductus, which means lead to or lead on. We have kamoweo, kamowere, kamowi, kamotus, which means alarm or arouse. We have impedio, which means hinder or impede. Auctoritas, auctoritatis, which means authority or influence. Contra, which means against or opposite. A tergo. Remember to think of this one in context of a fronte. A tergo means in the rear or from the rear, from the back. And a fronte is its opposite, which means in the front or from the front. Notice that we're using this a preposition here that we just learned, which means from, right? Then we have sumus aum, which means highest, greatest, or very great. Discedo, discedere, discesi, discesurus, which means depart or withdraw. And we have navis, navis, which is a pretty easy one when you think of navigation, because it means ship. Then we have ex or e, which means out over from. Ab or a, which means away from or just from. And then de, which means down from or just from. And finally, kado, kadere, kekidi, kasuris, which means fall. Great work, everyone. We just covered 3 lessons of vocab and built so many fun houses in the process. This place is really coming together, and you're getting really close to knowing all the vocab Caesar uses in his writings. It's pretty epic. See you next time.